Hey, sixth grade at LCA, I sure miss you. And now that I'm so far away, it's hard to be able to communicate with you. But thanks to today's technology, you get to hear me live from the surface of the planet Mercury. I'm going to walk through the inner planets with you today as we visit each one of them and give you a little overview of the characteristics of the planets. So here we are on Mercury, and you know that Mercury is the smallest and fastest planet in the solar system. Its revolution around the sun is only 88 days of Earth days. If it didn't move this fast, the sun's gravity would pull it into the sun. And even though Mercury is the fastest in revolution around the sun, it also has the slowest rotation. It makes a complete rotation on its axis only 3 times every 2 years. So you get about a day and a half per year on Mercury. Now, because Mercury is smaller than Earth, it has less gravity than Earth. And this low gravity, along with extreme heat of the sun, takes away any chance of Mercury having an atmosphere. Because there's not an atmosphere and the hemisphere facing the sun stays facing the sun for up to 2/3 of a year, its temperature reaches up to over 750 degrees Fahrenheit. The opposite is also true. That hemisphere that's not facing the sun stays not facing the sun for up to 2/3 of a year, and so its temperature can drop down to below 330 degrees Fahrenheit. This odd circumstance gives Mercury the only planet with the opportunity to be called the hottest and the coldest planet. Now, on this planet, we do have one species that you get to see a specimen of, and this is called a Gorgon. He's actually the only one that we know of that can live on this planet, and he has his own sense of gravity, making him heavier so that he doesn't float away on this planet that doesn't have a lot of gravity, so he's very heavy. I know you can't really tell the way I'm holding him. Another interesting thing about the Gorgon is that under all this fur, he has a square little shaped head with little holes in it to help him for breathing. So, Gorgons, which you can find on the planet Mercury. We're going to skip over Venus for right now because its atmosphere is not conducive to me standing out there talking to you for a while. We're going to come back to it at the end. And next, we're going to visit our own home planet of Earth. Now, as far as we know, Earth is the only planet that scientists are aware of that supports life. And we are so thankful that God placed our Earth right where He did. As I've been studying these planets and getting outside during the day, I've just been thankful for the characteristics of our planet that set it apart from the ones that don't support life. For example, just because of the way that God placed our tilt of the axis at about 23 degrees off of center, we get seasons and changing temperatures. We get the beautiful colors of fall and spring. Our atmosphere has just the right amount of oxygen so that we can breathe and so that life can be sustained here. Our atmosphere also keeps out all of most of the harmful rays of the sun, and it burns up most meteorites before they can reach us. We also have the greatest air pressure here so that we can walk around and we're not crushed, as you'll see on some of the other planets. And our gravity is just right. All of these features work together to support life on Earth. And if just one of them was different, we could not live here. Let's move on over to Mars and see what we can learn there. Now, Mars is nicknamed the red planet because of all the iron oxide, or rust as we call it. It's tilted on its axis like Earth is, so it has seasons. It also has weather patterns and wind, and sometimes the wind on Mars is so strong that it erodes this dark red dirt blowing it up into the atmosphere and causing it to have a dark pink color. The largest volcano in our solar system is here. It's called Olympus Mons, and it's 15 miles high. The crust on Mars, scientists do not believe that it moves like the crust on Earth. And so when a volcano forms, it just continues forming in the same place. That's one reason why Olympus Mons is so high, 15 miles. But it's also why it is so wide. It's a shield volcano that spreads out further in surface area than the state of Georgia. It also has 2 moons that are so small, it is thought that they were once asteroids that got caught in the orbit of Mars because of its gravity. Mars does have water, but it's only found in its solid state. There are 2 polar ice caps that have frozen water and frozen carbon dioxide, and it is possible that there is more water frozen beneath the surface of the planet. We have found dry riverbeds here that indicate at one time liquid water did flow across this planet. Now, Mars's atmosphere is much thinner, 100 times thinner than Earth's, and is made up mostly of carbon dioxide. Because the atmosphere is so thin, there is hardly any atmospheric pressure, which means that if the ice melts, it immediately becomes a gas. The sun doesn't warm Mars as much as it does the Earth. So its temperatures usually are on the cooler side, all the way down to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, negative, and sometimes getting up into the 60s, but not very often. Now, there are several very interesting creatures that you might see if you were able to come here and visit. One of them is called the rufflehide. It eats rock and it breathes carbon dioxide. Another is the Alta Magna. It lives for 300 years. It has a snake-like tongue and grabs food from the air. There's also the endomorph with jello-like skin. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see those sometime in the future. Our last planet that we're going to go to is Venus. Now, in going to Venus, which we haven't gotten there yet, I'm still here on Mars. I'm a little bit wary of going to Venus because the atmosphere there is so heavy that I have to wear a special helmet. Okay, here I am on the planet Venus. Venus is sometimes called Earth's twin because its size is similar to Earth's. It's the only planet named after a female, the Roman goddess of beauty. Interestingly enough, there's actually an international agreement that any feature of this planet, a mountain, a crater, that would be named has to have a feminine name, a name of a woman. Now, Venus's atmosphere is filled with dense clouds, causing it to reflect about 75% of the sunlight that hits this planet. Our Earth only reflects about 30%. Its atmosphere is also very toxic. That's why I'm wearing this space helmet. It's mostly carbon dioxide with thick clouds that rain sulfuric acid, which evaporates before reaching the surface. This heavy atmosphere traps heat, causing a greenhouse effect. So, because the heat is trapped, it makes both the light and the dark side remain hot all the time. It is the hottest planet, coming in at a whopping 860 degrees Fahrenheit. My helmet is getting crushed by this atmospheric pressure. The pressure on Venus is 90 times greater. That's why I'm also wearing this helmet because of the carbon dioxide, this pressure. It's just getting heavier and heavier and harder for me to stand. And also the air is so thick, I'm afraid a breeze is going to come and just knock me over. Few more facts, as long as I can stand it here. Venus has more volcanoes than any other planet. It rotates in the opposite direction of the other planets. So the sun rose in the west this morning when I got here, and it will set in the east. It rotates on its axis once in 243 Earth days. That's how long it takes it to just go for one day there. That's so slow that if I was on the equator, I could run around the entire circumference of Venus before the day was over. Now get this. It revolves around the sun in 225 Earth days. So the day on Venus is longer than the year. That's crazy. Okay, a couple fun facts about Venus. It has the most spherical shape. Because it's spinning so slowly on its axis, it doesn't bulge in the middle. Now, we talked about Galileo Galilei, and he charted the phases of Venus as it moved across the sky. Venus also doesn't have any water on it, no oceans or seas or ice. Also, Venus has no moon. Now, there are a few creatures I want to share with you. I'm going to try to do it before this pressure really gets to me. I can't get it. Okay, I got one of the creatures. This is the star mouth. He has internal cooling temperature, so he doesn't burn up on this planet. Go along, star mouth. Also on this planet, I try to talk to you through my crushing helmet, is a Scopolijeuce. It eats the surface and takes sulfuric baths. You can also see the impossible creature. It has a shell around it, creating its own atmosphere. Wish I had one of those. My mask isn't working very well. And a couple of last ones. The stone crackler is also here, and the Venus alien with special eyes so that it can absorb all the brightness of the light on this planet. I have to go. It's getting too hard to withstand this 90 times worth of pressure. Scotty, beam me up.